it would be unusual to talk about the same noun.
As-
You could say it would be weird to say that two nouns were coinciding, that they were overlapping, or that they were somehow happening at the same time. It's stylistic as well as about the sense of it.
But
It's
but
just
what?
it's just a bit weird to repeat.
Okay,
This is a
itself.
situation where even if you're talking about the same kind of thing, you'd probably be looking for a synonym. So when you're saying something like that, it's almost like you're deliberately rejecting a stylistic convention so that you can emphasize the point. So if I say like there's something that they say in rhetorical theory, they say agreement leads to further agreement. And when you say that, you're doing something that in ordinary usage you wouldn't do, which is repeating the two. Um,
Recursive phenomenon.
Yeah, and so by doing that, you're highlighting it. So it's a rhetorical effect, whereas this is not the kind of sentence that's sort of doing something for rhetorical effect. It's actually just trying to describe two related phenomena. Um, yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, I got it. And can you explain something like that? I don't know. Can you
yeah,
explain this
that's
one?
that's right. They line up in some way. They overlap. They they end up occupying the same space. Yeah, so I think in this case, interest is something that's been discussed in previous sentences. There's been interest in something, and then this sentence is saying that interest is happening at the same time in history as enthusiasm for certain lifestyles. So, maybe, I don't know, interest in New Age therapy has initially coincided with enthusiasm for alternative lifestyles.
Let me bring
Um,
the yeah. This.
Complementary therapies have become increasingly popular in Australia over the last decades. Initial interest initially coincided with enthusiasm for alternative lifestyles. So in that case, what they're saying is when these first became, when these therapies first became interesting, people were also interested in or enthusiastic about lifestyle changes. Um, that implies that now they're not. And I think that's probably true. I think people still they want to live, typical lifestyles. They don't want to run away and join a commune, but they are still interested in acupuncture and naturopathy.
So
Like
commune.
you go with like a few dozen people and live on a farm together and you don't have jobs, but you kind of live in common.
Oh, okay.
Like
So
like a monastery or um yeah, a cult are a bit like that too.
okay. And another thing. So just
Initially coincided at first, people were interested
oh, you're right.
in they were interested in therapies, special complementary therapies, at the same time as they were interested in living a different lifestyle.
So
Um, they mean slightly different but closely related things. So interest is perhaps more intellectual, but it in this sense it just means it probably just means enthusiasm as well. That is, people are
exactly.
positively disposed towards something. They've got energy for it.
Yeah. So
Um, so the reason why we're not using interest again, interest initially coincided with interest for alternative lifestyles, is just because saying interest twice within one clause gets it just gets a bit confusing. It's
eh,
just, yeah. Are we talking
exactly.
about the same interest here? Yeah.
Yeah. Now I got it. But
Idea. So those complementary therapies, that's a way that you treat illness or disease. Um, but but alternative lifestyle is a different idea. It's the idea of living differently to um, to ordinary modern ways of living. So, we assume that we mostly live in single family households, or we might live in with one or two housemates. We get up and go to our job every day. We buy our groceries at the supermarket. All of that, like the way that we live our lives, So when complementary therapies first became interesting to people, they were also interested in not living their lives in that way. So they wanted to be like hippies
Oh
um
my God. Okay.
or drop out of society.
So they want to
Um
live in far field. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe
Okay.
grow their own food.
Okay.
Um
So
change
what?
their lifestyles. Yeah.
For what reason? I mean, to be healthier or what? Just because they see some people from, for example, here you said that from China here, because they like their lifestyle. What reason? I mean.
Okay, so that's a simultaneous phenomenon, which is while immigration increased contact and trade with China, and that's because acupuncture in particular, but also forms of naturopathy and complementary therapy have also have connection to traditional Chinese medicine. So that's actually adding yet more information, that
Mm.
clause.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess regardless of whether people want to go and live and grow their own food and separate themselves off from modern society, um, there's also just an influence coming from China, because traditional medicine is quite strong there still.
Yeah, I got.
So so we know that that interest in complementary therapies is still growing, have become increasingly popular. The alternative lifestyle stuff, it's implied that that is no longer the case. People don't really want to do that. Um, the next sentence is actually about what consequences should we draw from this general picture where people are interested in complementary therapies.
Mm.
The status of complementary therapies is being revisited. So, because they're more popular, it's implied we need to look again at things like the law, medical associations, medical education, scientific research.
So no, I understand.
What they're saying, it's a cause and effect. That is because they're very popular, their status needs to be re-examined or reinterpreted.
Okay.
If something is not popular, there's not really a reason to decide whether it should or shouldn't be legal, or whether it should or shouldn't be taught to doctors, if no one's doing it.
Oh,
But the fact that it is popular, so it's an implied cause and effect. It's not saying because of this popularity, the status of these therapies is being revisited. It's implying that
oh,
relationship.
I got it. Perfect. Efficacy.
Okay, so efficacy is, does it work? Is it
Efficacy.
effective? Whereas efficiency um is
Efficiency. Yeah.
is it efficient? Is it resource intensive? Does it cost a lot? So they're slightly different but related ideas, right?
So, but
Something might work, but it might be inefficient. So, like, let's say I've got caterpillars in my garden. A very effective way of getting rid of them is to go and pick up each one and kill it. But it's not very efficient because it'll take me all day. Um, so if efficacy is about whether it works, it's not about whether it's efficient.
but
You're seeing whether they're worth the cost.
oh, the cost.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, or the time that they take, or are they be are they more effective for lower cost than current practice?
Oh,
Whereas
efficacy.
if efficacy is about, do they actually work? Do they have the effect that
Mm.
people say they do?
So, I think I get.
Really about a process or a technique, or maybe a policy. So let's say that you designed a new way um, of measuring um, something, and if you were you might say that our technique has improved the efficacy of
Of the
this industrial
machining process.
process.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and then you might say there's also evidence to suggest that when combined with these elements, it will increase
Increase
the
efficiency.
efficiency of these
So
factories.
you don't
So
say efficacy of this factory, yeah? The next sentence. You said that efficiency. You said
so
efficiency.
we could talk about either, is what I'm saying.
So
So
can
there
we
might
say,
be
but why we cannot say efficiency here? Because it has
so
the
there's
the same thing.
it, it's about, in this context, it's about do they work? That is, they haven't yet decided that alternative therapies actually work, like complementary therapies work. So people say acupuncture works, but the scientific evidence is not as strong as, for example, the evidence for certain drugs,
Mhm.
or for antibiotics.
But when we said it, it's still. I want to hold my eye.
So that would only be if you'd already decided that they work. Then you could do research into how to make them more efficient.
Oh, I got it. Now it's better. I got it.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah. So first we need to make sure that it works, and we will make
yeah.
it better, more
Because
efficient.
be,
You're right. Yeah.
because complementary therapies are usually about
Amazing.
health,
Yeah.
people might be using them instead of taking like chemotherapy or drugs to treat their illness. So the most important issue is, do these complementary therapies actually work to improve people's health? Only after that would you decide, oh yes, they're more efficient or not.
Yeah, more efficient. So we need to make sure that it works, then it will be efficient or more efficient. But
So
efficacy means the desired process that we need. We don't know yet.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
Perfect.
there are two different values.
Perfect.
One of them is, does it work? The other is it efficient?
Yeah.
Is it a good
But
use of
efficient,
resources?
most of the time works, but we don't know it is, I mean, efficient or I don't know, something.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
right.
it.
You've usually, to talk about efficiency, like for example, universities, they know that one-to-one tutorials
For each of the student books, but it is not efficient.
have efficacy. Yeah,
Okay.
they have efficacy. They are effective, but they also know that they're not efficient.
Perfect example. I love that. Amazing.